Welcome back to the Joseph Graham Show. Today I'm super excited because I've actually been at events and different things with this special guest. Her name is Jessica Gruber. Did I say it right or did I mess it up?
Nope, you got it right this time.
I got it right. Cool. Now she owns Buzzworks.
I do.
Cool. So that's like the formality type of stuff, but she's a master networker, runs a bunch of different things when it comes to networking, masterminding, getting people connected to the right people. She's a fantastic business owner. I met her through my friend Donnie Bovin. Some of you have know who he is. And guess what, Jessica? You beat him to the show. We've been trying to get him on. He still hasn't got it. So you get to be on the show first, but tell us a little bit about what you do, who you are, and who you help.
Awesome. Yeah. So I am the CEO founder of Buzzworks. We build super sticky, sweet websites. If you wanted like a 5-second pitch, there it is. But we focus on your websites, anything that is in your websites, whether it's your website designer disappeared and I need someone to help maintain it, or hey, my website is old and we need to update it because the conversations I'm having out in the real world aren't lining up with the conversations we're having online. So we take a look at that. We don't do social media. We don't do paid advertising. We solely focus on your website. Um, my past experience, I'm Jessica Gruber, used to work for creative agencies for probably 5, 6 years and was running one by the end of it. And by that time, I said, if I'm running this for someone, might as well do it for myself, broke off on my own. And that's where Buzzworks was created.
I love that. I love that you've niched. Like not like you're not trying to be everything. You're just like, I'm gonna take this part of what you need and help you with it and fix it, which is kind of cool because everyone's always trying to, it seems like online, at least they're always trying to be everything. And you can't really get good at anything if you're everything. So I love that.
Oh, don't get me wrong. When I first started, I was everything. I was doing billboards, I was doing window clings, I was doing ad campaigns. I was everywhere because that was my background. But as soon as I found a system for websites that work, it allowed me to grow my business, but also my family and be that mom and present in their life that I wanted to be.
Which is what we do this for. Because when you become an entrepreneur, it's not that you want to work 90 hours a week and do all these crazy things, it's that you want to build a life you love waking up to. So I love that you've dialed it in and gotten it to that point where now you can be the mom, do the thing. Like we were talking, had just went on like a bike ride, and me and my son went on like a hike. It is like 113 here. It's only 90 there where you were. No, Missouri was probably a little bit less hot.
It was only like 80 degrees there. So
Nice.
I once I got back to Texas, I was definitely like, ah, I did not miss the heat.
No, no. And I moved from Texas to Arizona, so I have heat all the time. I know it's crazy, but I like it. But let's talk about this a little bit because you said something there that I think a lot of people listening to the show like. They want to wake up to a life they love living. They want to wake up to a life where they make enough money or more than enough money so they can have an exceptional life, but then still have time to do the things that matter in life. How did you structure that? Because in the beginning, it sounded like you had all this stuff going on. Then you just, what was that pivotal moment to make you dial in and say, no, I'm going to focus on this niche so I can have more time with the family?
I mean, it wasn't one specific moment. It was learning over time what I needed to give away to be able to be present in the time that I wanted to be present in. I mean, the first thing, and I know probably a bunch of people will connect with this, is that I gave away my bookkeeping. I am not the person to want to sit there and reconcile my books every single month to keep my business running. I want to know my numbers, but I don't want to be in there. So that was the first thing I gave away. And as soon as I gave that away, I saw the freedom that I was starting to get. And I was like, okay, well, maybe if I let someone else control this piece of the business, that will give me freedom to do more things. And what about if I find someone to do this for me? Um, and so that's kind of and of course, once you bring kids into the mix, you're like, "Oh, I have to keep three tiny humans alive. I need time for
Mhm.
this. So how am I going to do it? Adding the humans into my life forced me to delegate out the tasks and not control it all myself.
Yeah. But was that like hard for you? Because I know a lot of solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, they want to control everything. Was it just because you knew you didn't like doing bookkeeping? I don't like doing bookkeeping either. How was it easier for you to let it go after you let it go the first thing, or? How did that come about? Because again, I know a lot of people that want to make sure they have everything under control.
So once I did it, I mean, do it with the stuff that you hate first. I don't like being in QuickBooks. That's what I gave it away. The next thing was I don't like to develop websites. I don't like to be the person that codes it. So I gave that away. Now it wasn't all, hey, I hired someone and things were happy and everything was going great. I had to go through a couple developers, figure out the type of developer I needed that fitted my personality that I could work with. Um, and now me and my developer, we've been working 5, 6 years together, and we love each other. So it's definitely going through the experience, going through those trials to figure out what works with for you as an entrepreneur. You can have coaches, you can have all these, all they're going to give you is the best route they think will work for you. But you got to take what they teach you and apply it to yourself and figure out, okay, this is what they're saying. How do I implement it so it will work for me?
No, I love that. And I loved how you just described coaches because, as you know, I coach as well. And sometimes it's like you tell people, say, hey, this is a good idea. And they're like, are you going to do it for me? No, I can't do it for you. You have to do it. It's your business, it's your life, it's what you're developing and waking up to. So, no, I love that a lot. So, my thoughts are on this here, though. So, you've been in business for how many years now for yourself?
Over 10 years now.
Over 10 years. So you've had the ups and the downs, the goods, the bad. What type of routine do you have that keeps you set? Are you like the structured girl where you like time block and do that? Or are you more free flowing? What type of person are you when it comes to all the different hats that you have?
I'm actually more free flowing, and that's because of my family. I cannot control other people if um, and they have their schedule too. And anyone that has a family knows something is going to come up. And so before I started having kids, yes, I was very structured. I'm going to work from this time to this time. And then once I started having kids, well, now we have sleep schedules that we have to insert. And now we have this, and now we have doctor's appointments. So it allowed me to, I guess you say, master juggling several hats and staying on top of it. Now I do have a calendar that has all my appointment bookings, all everything. And so I know exactly what I need to move if something does arrive. And if they're not willing to move it because of a family matter, it's not someone I want to work with. So, and I have fired clients because they got in the way of my family.
But I love that you have boundaries, and I think that's something that I deal with this. I deal more with men than women. I'll be flat out honest with you. They're like, I'm working 80 hours a week for my family. I'm like, no, you're not. You're working it for you. When you said that right there, that makes more sense. If it's between my family or this client, I'm going to pick my family because this is my business. I built this so I could do what I wanted to do, not so I could be chained to a desk for 60, 70 hours a week and do all the other crazy things. So I think that's good. What has been the biggest lessons you've learned over the last 10 years so with it? So I mean, you've been there 10 years. So we know that businesses within the first 5 years, 95% of them are gone. Like people don't typically last 5 years. You're double that. So what lessons have you learned that maybe someone that's maybe starting out as an entrepreneur or maybe even a sales professional, because I have a lot of them that listen to it too. I call them entrepreneur like. They don't have the overhead of a business, but they still have to kill to eat, so to speak. They still have to sell and build a business. What advice would you give people listening to there, like just that you learned over over the past 10 years?
I think the biggest one is business will always be there. Work will always be there, but the people in your life may not always be there. So I do prioritize putting those people in front of work when I need to. Now, it doesn't mean that, hey, I have a happy hour coming out. There's going people that I like. No, I'm going to get my work done before I go to that happy hour. Um, the next thing would probably be um, listening, consuming, but not acting, thinking on it and taking it into what it's worth and how it can be applied into your business. There's so many entrepreneurs that they go and chase the new shiny thing Um, and they don't sit back and say, hey, is this the right route for me? How can I implement this? Or maybe how can I take just the smallest piece of it and implement it into my business? Because if you're consistently chasing that shiny new object, the shiny new way to market yourself or the shiny new way to sell yourself, then you're not creating a strategy. You're just chasing stuff.
I love that because I think so many times people get excited because this person did this or that person did this and it was great for them, but you forgot they built that brand and that legacy over time. They built that system up that worked for them, and you had to find something that works for you and stick with it. Like you said, you've dialed in on you develop website. You help people make their websites pop out more, make them more up to date. But in the beginning, you kind of were trying to do everything and it was kind of like overwhelming, I'm assuming. And then now that you're able to do this, you become the best at that, which I think is key. I think too many times people try to follow someone else's ideas or goals. So how do you help people with this? Because I know you're a master networker. Like I've seen you in action. I know the groups that you're in. I know the people you hang out with. How do you not only manage the business, but then you also help manage what I would call, I don't know, we would call it a networking group or mastermind, you put whatever word you want in it, but you're in charge of one of the biggest or coolest ones in the DFW area. Like I know you mentioned the happy hours and all. So I'm gonna ask you this first. Do you make sure you get your work done before you go to those happy hours? Is that what you're saying? You had to have your work done beforehand?
Yes. Yes, I have to have my work done, but honestly, sometimes those nights are, hey, I need a break and I need to go hang out. I need a break from my family and I need a
Mhm.
break from work. So I'm going to go hang out with these people. Um, and then once it's over, we're back to it. So, um, how do I manage it all? Um, so it was so Success Champions came in an interesting part of my life because I was in a transition stage where my youngest child, um, that was 5 years old, was going into kindergarten. So now I was coming in to this whole time gap that I had. And I said, what am I going to do with this time? I was introduced to Success Champions probably about 2 years ago, and they had been asking me to run for president, be a president, start a group. And at that time, I was like, no, I do not have time to add this to my plate. You're going to have to wait. And it just kind of aligned. Leaders came in that I was like, yes, I want to lead with these people. We all came together and we started growing it. Um, and it wasn't necessary. It was more to get my name back out there because after 10 years of having kids, taking care of the kids, running a business,
Mhm.
my name had kind of faded from the business world. So that's what I was personally looking to get out of it. But what came out of it was that I had these top sales leaders and these top business executives that were pushing me to get out there. And I'm a person that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm not going to fail it. So I wasn't going to
Right.
fail running a group in front of all these business leaders. So I'm always learning from them. We always have like our morning tip, and someone will have a morning business tip. And I'm like, okay, can I implement that in my business? A bunch of legal stuff coming up. We have an attorney in our group, and he's always keeping us up to date. So it's really very much a peer group that I enjoy showing up to every week and just hanging out with them, seeing how everyone's businesses grow. If you surround, it's very much the Ed Milet, Tony Robbins, surround your people with the people you want to be, and you will become that person.
Yeah, and I know I was in the group for a short time, then I had to move and everything. But yeah, the way your group is set up is amazing because like I've been in a lot of groups, I've been pulled into a lot of groups, and a lot of times there's rah-rah sessions or whatever, but each week had different things that were like important. And I think that was part of the genius of it was the fact that how you guys set the group up and the connections and all. And then the networking event was kind of like the icing on the top because you got all the business stuff done, and then you go and all the groups would meet up and we would hang out, which I loved. Were you part in designing that as well for your group when you set it up, or was that already set in place, or did you have a little bit of liberty to say, "Hey, we're going to make this group go like this"?
So within Success Champions, and When I first started mine, there was no training. Once I started mine, they said, and it started taking off really quickly, quicker than I expected. I remember emailing Donnie. I was like, "How do you keep track of all these people?" And he's like, "I have an Excel sheet." I was like, "Well, that doesn't help me right now." Um, so they brought me in to start training. Now, the framework was there. What we did was we cleaned it up so that other business leaders could come in, open the box, and say, here we go. We're going to grow your business through networking and peer groups.
No, I like that. So let's go a little bit deeper into networking because I know you're really good at it and all. How do you help the person? Maybe they're a business owner, they're used to being a solopreneur, but they need to have people in their lives. How do you help them learn how to network? Because I know that this is part of the thing with going in through, or what's the best way for people to network when they go into an event? You can ask it either way, or you can answer either one.
Okay. So when you're going into an event, you're not looking at the room as your clientele. You're looking at them as your word of mouth referral partner. And so what you're trying to do, um, often how I teach it is we have a synergy triangle. Put your ideal client in the middle of that triangle. You're at the top. Who else wants to be talking to those that ideal client partner? And those are the people you're seeking out. Those are the people that you want to be in a room with every single week, talking about the deals that they had. How can you guys align? If you don't have those people in your hemisphere, go a level lower. Who wants to be talking to those people? And eventually you start building a pyramid of people in your network that are all having conversations around this one single ideal client. Now you may have multiple different triangles, but each of them, as you expand them out, you'll see that they overlap. And that's how and if you invert the pyramid. Now I'm getting really nerdy and techie here, but
I
if you
like nerdy
invert it,
techie.
yeah, if you invert that triangle, now it becomes a funnel into your word of mouth referral system.
No, I like that. So, how do people who maybe aren't as outgoing but have a business start that process? Like maybe they've never been to one of those type of happy hour groups and it's like overwhelming because there's so many people and there's so many things. Do you just suggest they find like 1 to 2 people? Do you suggest they try and do the whole room? I know everyone has their own strategy, but what would you suggest for someone coming into that type of environment?
So, crazy little thing. When I first started networking, so when I networked, I didn't even know networking was a word kind of
Mhm.
thing. I didn't even know people did it as a business development tool. Some people were like, here, show up here. And then they're like, get up and do a 30-second pitch. I'm like, holy crap, I have to stand up in front of like my hand was literally shaking the first time I did it.
Nice.
Um, so the first time is the worst.
Hmm.
But then once you start doing it, it's rinse, wash, repeat.
Hmm.
Um, and you're looking for those people. If I cannot help someone in that room, my mission is to connect with them. So when I walk into a goal, sorry, when I walk into a room, I always have the goal of either connecting people or getting them on my calendar. So my mission is to get 2 to 3 people on my calendar or say they want to be on my calendar. So I know I need to follow up with them, but also to connect people in that room. I am by I am an introvert, so it is sometimes hard. But if you give me a job to do, then I will complete that job, and it feels more natural of, hey, I'm connecting you with you. Now I just won in both of those people eyes, and they'll remember me for when they do need to have that website conversation.
Love that. But that makes sense because introverts hate small talk, but they like impact. So
Oh,
yeah,
I
I
I
could.
I've become the master of passing people off at happy hours. I'm like, I'm done with this conversation. Here, come meet this person now.
No, that's good. It might sound funny. We've interacted some. I'm actually more of an introvert. I have to go on walks. I have to be in nature. I have to be away from people to recharge. But when I'm in a room, I typically try to own the room. Like people think I'm an extrovert, but in reality, I'm typically more introverted with what I do.
We went to lunch with our group. And it was to celebrate some people that were having some babies come into their life. Um, and I'm just sitting there chilling out, eating lunch, listening to conversations, and one of them goes, "Jessica, why aren't you talking?" And I kind of look at him and I was like, "No, this is me off stage, not doing
Hmm.
anything. I just want to sit here, relax, and enjoy the conversation. You guys take it."
Yep. Yep. I do that at events sometimes. Like if I really know the people and I've been to some event, I will go and I will like I'll talk one on one, but I'll just let people just be. And it's just yeah, I think it's because we're so performance driven in our roles and what we do that when we don't have to be, I don't have to be the top person in the show per se. That's not like my goal. But because we have the same skill sets and are successful, I think sometimes that happens. So when you actually get to just be and just have human connection, it's fun. And there's no
Mm.
pressure of I have to perform or I have to show up this way or that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We just had this past weekend, we had all the families get together. And that was really cool because we've never really met the spouses or the kids of our group. Um, but at the same time, I was myself. I wasn't there to do business. I was there to relax and turn off. And when my kid came and asked me, pulled me from the group and asked me to play cornhole, I was like, yeah, sure, let's go. And then 20 minutes later, after being in the sun, I was like, okay, son, I'm done. I'm coming back in the shade.
Yeah. But that I think that's the key because if you think about it for thousands of years, business was done in a community and they did family and life together. Now with the internet and all, I have a ton of friends all over the place, but if I can get in a spot where we can just be normal and be human, that builds more connections than me talking to you about the latest greatest thing while you talk to me about the latest greatest thing while someone else goes rah rah rah. That's not really what it is. It's about building the life you want to wake up to. It's about building your business and becoming the people you want to be. And I think authenticity, even though that's a buzzword or being human, is key to business because I've gotten more relationships over dinner or talks or after the event and just getting to know people better and then getting clients that way than in any speech or presentation I've given. And I've talked to CEOs, CFOs, and presidents of large companies. It just seems to be that human connection. I think is the thing people forget.
Yeah, especially after our pandemic. And then I know it's several couple years after the pandemic, but you're still seeing the effect. And the trend right now is to build those relationships because we're starving for those relationships that we missed out on those years when we were on screen and doing everything virtual and not having that connection. So I feel like we're kind of trying to make up for that time right now, which is really awesome because everyone wants to be connected.
Well, I literally just got back from a business trip. I got to go to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Never been there. I have a client that's a ski resort, and I got to go walk their trails and do stuff with them that a couple years ago. But I have done virtual meetings for the past year, like few years. This is the first time I've actually gotten out to interact with people face to face again. I'm like, I like this so much more. And the funny thing is people actually open up more off video than they do on because they don't
Mhm.
have the little screen that they can hide behind or get distracted and look over here while you're talking to them because you're like face to face. They have to give you that presence. I like that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about this more. Let's dial in back on websites because I know there's a lot of people listening to this that have websites, and this is your expertise. So I can't let you go before we talk about this. What is it that makes a good website or a bad website, or what are some key things that pop out to you if someone sent you the website? What are some key things that you look at for them to maybe change, or you can say, "Oh, I need to help you with this."
Okay, so my overall concept for websites is take your top sales conversations and turn them into website experiences. So that means that you're answering the objections, you're answering their problems, you're answering all anything that they may ask you on your website. And even now, it's more important than ever to answer these questions. Some people are hesitant about putting pricing on your page, but I mean, the younger generations, they want that information at the fingertips. And that's a qualification or disqualification question because someone else may have that information on their website and they get the deal because you didn't have that information on there. Um, so that is probably the biggest thing is making sure that your consumer has the information they need to make a decision on the spot because once they make that decision and they convert, then all it is a conversation is, are they a fit for you as a client? Um, Oftentimes, I mean, we can go into little details of make sure your contact us button is colored in the top corner. Make sure your first 10 words on your website clearly state what you solve, unless you're like a big brand like Apple or someone um, that everyone knows. You need to make that statement of this is who we are, this is what we do, and this is who we help. So that when people land on your homepage, they know exactly what you do and who you help, and then they can continue reading on.
So a couple more thoughts because I've had a few different people on with some of this stuff. What effect does color have when it comes to a website in music? Are those things that you trying to help them cultivate as well to catch more things, or do you feel that's not as important? Because I've heard
So,
different stories. I'm not a website designer, so I'm not assuming anything.
okay, so the color has to make sense with the brand. I was speaking with a past client, and they wanted to change their colors because they were red and black and very aggressive colors. And I look at them and I'm like, why do you want to change this? And they're like, because red is warning, black is. I was like, yes, but when you are in a boardroom talking to those B2B executives, those are power colors. So you have to look
Mhm,
at the environment. It's not just about, hey, this color means this, so I'm not going to use it. It's what is your environment? Where is your brand living? And does it make sense to those people? Now, there's little things where you can take, say, if you have the red and black, you take a button. Your buttons are blue. So you add that hint of color in so it stands out from the red and black, and that blue button makes it feel safe.
mhm. No, I like that because I've done a little bit of color psychology. Not like I had a friend on here that talked about like the different colors, and she said red was actually passionate in a lot of cultures, which I didn't know. Like I
So,
thought that it was. I had no clue.
oh my gosh. So you're going to make me nerd out now. So
Let's nerd out.
one of in college we had to do a study on color. And so I
Mhm,
did the pink ribbon. So I had to go figure out where the color when the color pink became feminine,
mhm.
where the ribbon came from. So pink actually used to be a masculine color
Yep.
because it was a descendant of the red. It wasn't until Hitler came in and used that color to label the LGBT people that it became a feminine color. And
Mhm.
blue actually used to be a feminine color because of
Yep.
Mary. And then once that whole environment shift, blue became the masculine color and pink became the feminine color. So
No,
that's the
it's
short synopsis of it.
yeah, it was funny. I like wearing pink, and I have a buddy that actually, literally, someone told I think his boy was in kindergarten that blue or pink was a girl color. He changed his whole brand where he wore pink shoes because he was wearing black and stuff. Like he's just marine dude, I think marine. But he changed his whole brand to wearing pink just because he wanted his boy to know that any color he wanted he could have, which I think is cool. I know we went off on a little trail there, but colors have the ability to change over time. But I think that not hilarious, but that's crazy that for centuries. Because like if you look at the old like medieval movies and all, the king's always wearing pink or purple or those bright colors. And yeah, there's so much we could way nerd out on that. We won't go too far down that road. That's a cool conversation. But like I'm always drawn for the longest time, I was always drawn to blue. But lately I've been drawn to like brighter colors, like your light blue or pink or whatever. And I think over time you can change what you're doing in your perception and your brand of what you're wanting to do. Who are you wanting to affect? How does it affect them? But I think that's anything for the website because you're right. You can't just be a brand if you're just starting out. And I want people to remember what you said earlier. Rewind the message. Your first 10 words need to tell them who you are, how you help them, and how to find you or how to move along the process. I think did I summarize what you said correct?
Yeah. So you want your first 10 words to tell them who you are, what you do, and who you help. Because that clearly identifies, and this is kind of where the whole niching down in a market came, because when you niche down for SEO, people are specifically looking for solutions that speak specifically to their situation. So when you're putting in those keywords, they're saying bookkeeping for procurement services. They're not just saying bookkeeping. And that's
Right.
also where local search engine optimization came from, is bookkeeping in Fort Worth. You serve people in the Fort Worth area. And that's how we got into the niching down, so you could attract people more through digital spaces that are looking for their specific need.
Well, would you suggest, and I'll use myself as an example because I help two different groups of people. I help B2B professionals develop a selling solution. But I also help entrepreneurs develop a selling solution, but it's two different veins because the entrepreneur needs to get repeatable income. The B2B professional wants to be the best. They want to, make the most money, do the most sales, that type of thing. Would you recommend having two websites for that or having just two paths on the website, or how would that be set up? And actually I help three people because I also set up sales teams. That's three distinct different things. So how would you put that into a website? And broadly here, I'm just asking because that what you said made my mind think, well, crap, I have three things.
What is your main revenue generator? Go after that one first. And then you're able to branch that out. You're able to segment out, okay, so we do sales training for this, this, and this.
Mhm.
And you have three tabs. A lot of people come with these large websites that are bloated. And I say, we're ripping this out and we're putting 5 pages on it.
Mhm.
I've done this for clients. And just because we switch the conversation we're having on the website, what traffic used to be bouncing, now it's staying on booking calls and getting them to the place. So be that person in one space, but you're not going to stay there. That's just getting them to call.
Mhm.
um, you're still going to be known as a sales trainer. So you're still going to go get those one-offs that are interesting to do and work with, but your core focus is here.
What's funny I found over time? I think sometimes entrepreneurs, we think this is what we're helping, but then we have people asking us for help here, asking us for help here, and asking for help here. I'm going to throw this out there. If you keep having them ask you for help here, maybe you shouldn't do this one. Maybe you should do this one more. Because I've noticed as I've been going along, I keep getting more people saying, help me set up sales teams, which I'm really good at and I can do. But my focus had always been one on one. But now I'm starting to shift because every time I get people to raise hands, I'm getting businesses to say, hey, help me with this instead of one on ones to help me with this. So I just thought about that, just a little thing out for people thinking when you're developing your website. If something is popping out that maybe you don't have as a focus, but you keep getting more hand raises for it, would you suggest shifting to that on like the website? Because that's what you're getting the hands. I'm saying hand raised, but like people reaching out for.
Um, you got to determine if it's a shiny object or not. Is it just a wave? Because I will have waves in my business where I have, for some reason, a bunch of bookkeepers all at once need a new website.
Mhm.
And it's probably rhetoric that's going around in the digital space, in the accounting world, that, hey, you need to update your website. And so that benefits me and they come and find me. What conversations are going on in the world? Is this just a momentary thing, or is this a sustainable solution to grow within your business? If it's sustainable, yeah, add it to your website. Maybe it's a complementary service to what you already offer. And then it just needs to be segmented out. I like to think of the website in buckets.
Mhm.
Put the information you have to give in buckets so people know where you sit, where you work, and what you do.
And then this is another part, just a website. So now I'm thinking of getting people to the website, right? So with that, do you recommend that on a certain spot on like your social medias or just sharing it out? How do you recommend that they get more people to the website? I know we're getting a little SEO here, but
Mhm.
just in general, there's a lot of people that have social media. I'm assuming they shouldn't share their website on their social media every day because that would just be boring. But how would you direct people to get more connection to their website?
So your digital space is exactly like your in-person human network. That's the best I can that's the best way I can explain it. You have all these different networking events that you go to. How do you funnel them back to you? You have all these different social media platforms that you go to. How do you direct them back to your website? One of the sayings I've heard that I love is you can't buy your best backlinks. Your backlinks are the links that are on other people's sites that come back to your website and say, hey, this person knows what they're talking about. They're official. Um, those backlinks are done through networking and meeting the right people. I have a client in California. He wanted backlinks, and I said, okay, we can purchase them, but they're not going to be as good as you just going out and finding them and making those connections. And so we jumped on the browser. We found a government page that listed his service, but it was not exactly his service and was actually kind of not the ethical way of providing the service he provided. So I said, go reach out to this government entity, say, hey, I provide this service. Would you consider listing me on your website? He went and called him, and he texted me back later that day, and he said they were actually looking to um, remove that service and find someone else to be listed on that website. So if you take a little bit time, find your partners in your digital space and start aligning those, and everyone will boost each other up, just like in a live person networking event.
Yeah. I love how you brought that right back to networking. I told you all that she's a master networker, whether or not it's in person or online, but it makes sense because human connection is how it happens. I think so many times people forget there's someone on the, like we can see each other right now, but a lot of times you're on Facebook or Instagram, you don't see the other person on the other side of the keyboard, that they're a human, that they have a family, that they have a life. And if you touch their heart, their life, and help them, they feel obligated, and not in a bad way, but they just feel compelled to help you. And I think that's the beauty of it. Um, we're not done, but I want people to know where they can find you.
Right. Of course, you can always go to my website, Buzz WKS. It's not Buzzworks. Somewhere already had the Buzzworks URL. So it's BuzzWKS.com. Go check me out there. My calendar's on there. You can book some time, or I mostly play on LinkedIn. So go check out my LinkedIn profile and connect with me there.
Awesome. So before I let you go, I know we talked about a bunch of different stuff from networking to websites to family trips to human connection to even color psychology. I like all of it. But is there anything that we've missed, whether it's in networking, websiting, or just something that you want to leave our listeners with?
You know, there's so much noise going on in today's world. Whether it's in the digital space, whether it's in in-person space, it's cutting through it, figuring out what works with you, focusing on that to get your business, to get your family, to get your life to grow to the potential it has and where you want it to be.
I love that. Jessica, thank you for being on the show. For all you listening, go follow her. This woman knows people and can connect you and help you grow. You need a website fixed? You need a new website? Go check her out. And until next time, act. Don't just wait on your dreams. Take a step forward each and every day, because over time you will get to the place you need to be. Even if you stumble over your words and have done over 195 podcasts. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.